Okay, you guys, I'm finally back with the continuation of our Black Horse Decade update at the midway point. And I'm finally going to try to get completely through this for you guys. I have about 30 pages here, so we're going to see what happens. By the time I upload some of these videos, unfortunately, some of this may be out of date. So that's how quickly things are going. News updates are exploding so fast that no one can keep up. The weather conditions are worsening. Um, of course, in 2020, everybody just notices something's different. This is a different time. Something has shifted and changed. And if you guys want to come all the way up to date to this video, there's more videos on my channel, on this channel, that can get you updated on what I have done so far for this decade of 2020, the Black Horse, the very possible likely Black Horse decade update. Something really interesting too about this is since 2017, 2019, when I first started saying, look at this decade for food rationing, even since I got hit on 9/11 of 2020, as I believe was a confirmation that what I had been saying was correct, I still was saying this whole time, those of you guys who have followed me even from my old channel for years and years, I have been saying that I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until the food rationing comes before I say it is a confirmation that we are at the Black Horse. Well, guess what? Now that everyone's describing in explicit detail and it's obvious what's coming, and they're describing in explicit detail the rationings of the AI system that's coming for food and for everything. Now I'm starting to say, this is my very first time to say that I am like way more confident that, I mean, even after everything that's happened, that is the only thing making me confident. Even after all the patterns match, even after I was attacked on 9/11 of 2020 viciously, a spiritual warfare attack and everything, now is the first time that I'm getting confident to say this must be the Black Horse. It has to be. Or like what the Lord wants us to think is a very strong sign of it. That so far this entire decade, and I do not buy into the idea that all the horses run together and they're random and you might see signs of them here and there. I believe it's going to be very specific, very obvious, and here we are, and there has been no sign of the pale horse yet, but I'm going to get into a lot of things on this part of the update. Hopefully can get through a lot of it tonight. So everyone has seen that there's population and birth rate crisis even, and everything's becoming more obvious. One of my theories on the birth rate is that everyone just knows the level of stress that we are not at the levels that we've been before of just globally, not just there is tech and there is technology of people just being more aware of what's going on in the world and the influences of technology on people's decision making as far as having and starting families. But this Black Horse has always been known as the economy horse and the famine horse. And so I think worldwide people are just smart. They're under so much stress and pressure, obviously. And I don't think that maybe, I always believe God has a hand in the loving things of people in their lives and families. And I kind of suspect that, the Lord is like giving people grace, if you will, to survive. So I think it's really a big sign. And of course, the sign of AI and technology. Technologies are being set up. The I'm gonna have to really like watch my words on this one, y'all. I'm gonna have to probably speak in code or maybe spell things out, even though that's probably decipherable at this point. But the camps, the police forces, they're being set up. They're being called other things. Now we're seeing the blue cities. It looks like in America, at least those are being taken under federal control. I listened to Mike from Around the World on Paul Begley YouTube channel on Thursday nights, and he is also on Daily Excellence YouTube channel, and you can find him on Council on Time if you do a search. and he gives updates. So I will just say Mike or Mike from around the world from time to time on here. You guys probably know about him already. But he hints that this is he's not, coming out and telling us that these military takeovers are going to be massive, you know, coming in and doing the mass arresting things, but he's saying that it's to control what, you know, sales and things that are inside of America if WW goes down. So I'm staying in prayer about that. The marshal set up in America. I'm praying as always that things go down the best way possible, not the worst way possible. And we are going to see some things for real, for real. I suspect that a lot of people have been preparing since, and even covertly since the BHO days in 2008. That people that were having their ear to the ground and willing to listen at all and spiritually in tune have been preparing since then. We have real issues, real threats. This is historically always used to control people, and this time we have the A and the I to help out with that. And the I think I just put on this part of it just a list of things that we've seen in the past 5 years, since this is a midway update of 2020. The Abraham Accords were signed. I think those were actually first signed in the last decade when Trump was first in office, but from my understanding, they're growing. The Middle East seems to be fully engaged now into the reset plan with the wars. I hate this, guys. I hate it. I'm not talking flippant about any of this. It's very, very bad and probably coming near us. But I believe the Lord has been encouraging us not to be fearful, just to be aware and preparing and praying. If you're scared of anything like this, my biggest thing is to start studying how to spiritually handle that with prayer, to pray for God to help you have calm and peace, and understand that regardless of your feelings, it's possible for you to be strong and calm through these things. Sometimes it just takes more spiritual exercise to be reading your Bible and praying and just seeking out the Lord. And that's the only hope anyone has ever had anyway. But that would be my suggestion. So I believe all these things, all these conflicts, and there's unrest that's being heavily planned in America. They're all planned and orchestrated to a large degree by central groups that you could call antichrist groups. People have different names for them. Sometimes they sound like illumination, but um, I call them maybe antichrist groups because that's a good way to understand it. These are just the groups that go like all the way back into the ancient Babylon, into the same groups that would set up the things in Israel that people would just go after and worship that would get them in so much trouble. It's always been here. The knowledges have always been here because the evil side has always been trying to help people be with that, and so people like Candace are getting in a lot of trouble. I've talked about the defunding, deplatforming, firing of people like Tucker Carlson. But now you have people like Candace. She's beginning to expose these groups, how they operate, how they've been operating, and so how everything can be so planned and be happening the way they are in these times. And I'm not going to say much more about that, but if you guys want to check her out, they're trying to shut down and intimidate her with lawfare. It may seem like she's getting caught up in petty, like celebrity gossip with the things she's researching. However, that's not what's going on. She's kind of researching, exposing something that's going on that seems petty and gossipy, but it's actually the roots. It's actually opening, pulling back a lot of veils and exposing a lot of things about how the groups are run, how they're raised, how they're trained, what their purposes are, how they're appointed and assigned, and what's really going on. And it goes a lot deeper than what little she's uncovered. I think she hasn't picked up on some of it, but she's pulling back the curtains, and it may be smart if she doesn't expose, like, to talk about everything that she does see and know. And so what she's talking about, and others have too, is explaining how the WW is being set up and how the players are put into place. I'm praying for her and her team. I suggest you guys show her support and pray for her. But it wouldn't surprise me if we see her be made an example of in this time. I hate to say. So many people are appointed to positions over the world to move the events in the order for a very soon coming kingdom, because, like I've been saying, they're moving very, very, very fast. They're moving fast on this. And a lot of people know they're trying to get things done by 2030, but yeah, that's just kind of an idea how fast they're moving. Most, if not all, of what we see on the news is planned and timed carefully. And there's more and more people that are talking about it. Like, what can you even trust that you see on the news? Exactly. Actors worldwide playing their part, and to varying degrees. And so you can't really tell, like, which, if there was an innocent player in all this, it's so hard to tell. You can't even tell because everything seems so scripted, and you realize how it always has been. And then there's some that are sacrificed, and they are taking one for the team because and that's probably how it's always been. If that makes sense. But this is just one more reason that Jesus said to not let our hearts be troubled, is because we can follow the news sometimes down years long trajectories and rabbit holes and schemes on the story that's happening, and that's not even what's happening. So sometimes when you hear of a war, rumor of war, you're just like, well, I don't know if it's just a rumor this time. So, and still, if it is real, we should pray. We should care and pray and do what we can and be helpful. But let not our heart be troubled. We shouldn't be falsely alarmed by news reports. Actual events will occur around the world and have been, as you guys can tell, and have to a lot of us too. A lot of the reasons that we're told that things are happening are just lies. It's total lies. But prayer works. There's news about what's happening with Temple Mount, Israel, red heifers. Do they have ashes or not? And that's causing people supposedly to be upset because they don't want changes on the Temple Mount. And the institute that's in charge of that saying they can't always give the correct information, so we don't really know what's happening because it's controversial. Now we're in the middle of 2025, and they're saying they're practicing, right? They're practicing to get ashes, but they might have them already. So there are more people here. As far as the seals of Revelation opening, and this might be the third seal, there's more people that are pointing out that seals have begun to open. And a lot of them are thinking that they start, because things were so obvious in 2020, worldwide shift. A lot of people was like, this reminds me of 9/11, which is when I think the seals started opening, is way back then. But it was so worldwide and obvious this time, a lot of people said, this seems like a worldwide, this reminds me of back then. And they're also saying that 2020 is when seals began opening. You have people like Steve Cioccolenti. I think his ministry is called End Time Discoveries or something, Discover Ministry. And End Times Berean are actually thinking that the seals happen real super fast, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and they think they start open in 2020. And of course, Paul Begley on some of their webinars was saying because of the weather shifts and some of the space events, they were thinking that seals must already be opening since we're getting closer to what looks like the sixth seal. So you have people talking about it, and that's good. I think part of the reason why this is so drastic is things are happening so quickly and we're getting so close to things that even like the Lord wants us to know and start having these conversations that the seals are opening, and that's where we are. But they're saying things like, it's really cool because some of the things they're picking up on and saying this is this seal and that seal and that seal, I think all that is a signal of the Lord saying the seals are opening. It's not that that's when the seals opened, but he's saying this looks like a seal, that does, that does, that does. The seals are opening. For example, they're saying that if you look at 2020, Corona would be the crown of the white horse. War, especially like in the with Russia and Ukraine in 2022, that could be the war horse or the red horse. And then the famine horse behind it from the economy collapsing from the shutdowns is the black horse. And then they're even saying we possibly are seeing a pale horse of death because there was so much more death in the world by 2021 and 2022. And they're saying possibly even the fifth seal of martyrdoms. And this is terrible, guys, and sad because this has been going on since like the last decade. With what I think was actually the red horse of peace taken, was those increased martyrdoms. And my theory is the world shut back enough. It's got shut down. Uh, the cracks that things fall through open bigger. Things are a lot harder. I really saw that when I was trying to take care of people, and when I noticed people saying that they had to go to the emergency room like 3 or 4 times to be taken seriously, or this or that happened. It's like, yeah, it's just harder. It's harder for everyone in a lot of ways, and that's part of why when it first hit and people were not conditioned for that, a lot of people passed. That's probably what's going to happen in the pale horse. I hate to say, but I'm not being flippant. I have been prepared so much, and I think a lot of us have, that we kind of get used to these ideas. I think it's a positive thing in general that these conversations are being had, and the Lord wants us to know that seals could be opening. You were taught different, but seals could be opening. We could see a tribulation. We may see things we didn't think we were going to see because of how we were taught. We might see someone saying, take a number, a name, or a mark to buy and trade and sell. We were told that, oh, you'll never be there because of the rapture. So this is kind of making people realize it could be different than they were taught. It would be important to know that going forward, because the things we could see, the big deceptions, that the biggest deceptions, guys, there's all kind of paradigm shifts, and they're kind of using social media, I think, to test people's paradigms and to shift them, maybe like mud floods and Tartaria, and there's flat earth, and then there's continents and land masses that are beyond the poles, and I mean, some of that, there may be aspects of that we were taught wrong, but it always goes back to another one is the fake moon. The moon was man-made, and it's just a robot. So just get ready for any deception at this point. And when they bring it to us, since we're going along with the news and saying, yeah, that's happening, this increased and that changed, and the NATO leaders were meeting, and yes, and Trump did say that, and Musk did this, and they're going to put in this now. So you're going along with the news, and then they show you that there's this asteroid coming with aliens that want to hurt us, and you're like, yeah. Before you realize it, you're agreeing with the news. Then you have to, and you're even mentally seeing it that way. So you kind of have to mentally step back and remember, this is how it was going to happen. This was planned. For the last 15 years, they were really looking at when do we pull the alien card. So that, and of course, it's right on time. They've been giving us all the disclosures with the military and the Congress thing, and then they've been giving us the UAPs on the coast, and are they coming out of the ocean? Are they man-made? Are they from our military? And now we're seeing these traffic. They're saying there's traffic that's coming to Earth to set us straight right when we're in serious trouble. Of course, it is right on schedule. And they're saying, oh, well, it's taken these AI Atlas or 3i Atlas or whatever all this time to even get here. And who knows if it's even there, if it's from the government too, guys. Just don't believe it. And you've even got Christian people debating and thinking and scheming of, oh, it was this alien group or that alien group, and they've been watching us and they've been giving us messages since for decades on Voyager. So just be careful, because yeah, some of that may be true, but this is how they were planning for the deception. The biggest deceptions are, we're going to be raptured before hardship, and the fake alien demons, and they're going to have all the miracles or signs and wonders. So just get back, like in the old hymns, the old Bible, and simple church services, if you can find them, these old verses and everything, and ask the Lord to keep your mind right on it, and to protect you from temptations of falling for any of it. I think the Lord wants everyone to have the chance to know this is revelation. Our lives are going to be eternal if we're with the Lord. We don't have to feel like we're accepting death, or that our life ends. It's so amazing to me that the horrible things in the world, the horrible, horrible, horrible things, that's what dies. When we die, the horrible things die when this body dies. But the wonderful things will be eternal with the Lord. So it's like death is designed to release us and give us wonderful things with Jesus. And I'm just trying to be encouraging of how I believe the Lord wants it to be for his children. I think Mike from around the world often says things like, everything, even the worst things, are prepared for the good, for God's people. And that can be hard sometimes. Sometimes we don't need to hear what we feel like is platitudes, and we're going through hardship, but sometimes we can be encouraged. So there's been a lot of seal hints dropped, and even screaming, not hinting. And the number three is special. This is the third one, probably. It's probably why I was attacked so hard on 9/11. And time is going to be short as far as on this side and the things that I believe that's another reason why the evil is getting worse and worse, and things are getting harder, is we're saying goodbye, whether we consciously realize it or not. The Lord is showing us the things of the world are shaky. You can't stand on them. They will fall out from under you. That's what time we're in. People are openly talking about the seals of Revelation more. You'll be able to find it. To myself and to other people, I find all these things, all the world events are very orchestrated because the world has to be collapsed a certain way, especially economically and through the wars and the takeovers. And it has to be shaped and reshaped very quickly. The Great Reset, however they've been saying it, until to these their end time plans, which you can read in Revelation chapter 13. The road signs are being set up to the temple area now, and rumors that they have ashes. That means a lot of Christians are saying the rapture must be directly ahead. And a lot of people are looking at September of the Rosh Hashanah season of 2025 this year, asking, is the rapture going to happen now? That happens pretty much every year, but as things get crazy, like what's happened with the Middle East recently, people really ask that question. And so you hear them say that now, and my take on that would be not yet, because we have not seen the abomination of desolation or any of that. But things are happening very quickly. So yes, I suggest prayer, dedication, separation, humility, and sobriety. I do believe there will be a physical third temple. A lot of people do. And I believe that because of the physical descriptions in Daniel. I believe that because of the descriptions in Daniel and the events that would happen there. And it's hard for me to make that into only a metaphor. They talk about setting up an abomination on a wing, and a holy place is spoken of by Jesus. And that's why myself and others believe it's going to be a true physical place. And so, for a lot of people saying that we're going to see a pre tribulation rapture, just try to have it in your spirit, your heart, and your mind. It's not being unfaithful, I believe, to think like this, that in case, a lot of people are referring to the three men in the fire that said that my God will deliver me, but if not, in case you see things that were different than you thought, that just remember there are a lot of people thinking that we're not going to get raptured before a tribulation, and that doesn't mean the Bible is not true and that the Lord forgot about you or anything like that. And I would say look for the mark system to roll out before the rapture. And just pray personally how much you should prepare for that, because it's very possible that a lot of us are going to be removed by the system. I hate to put it so lightly, but that's what I think I'm being shown. Is it's good to have preparations, and you can, and that's okay, but to really I keep referring back to what Russ Dizdar would say about these things, because he was such a cool leader. I didn't pay close enough attention to him, but I did pay some attention. But what he would say about preparation or speaking, and it being dangerous, he was always just like, go out in the middle of it. Some people think he was taken out and removed in 2021, and his wife. But just don't stake everything on your preps, if that makes sense, whatever you are preparing. And be praying accordingly, that God will guide you and things will happen the most peaceful way that they can, that you will be prepared at that time. And trust the Lord when it seems like things are just overwhelming and impossible. Always, this is the coaching part of, if you can remember, and if the Lord puts it in your spirit, I pray He does, to trust God when it seems like it's overwhelming, that He's showing you something, He's teaching you something, He'll see you through it, it'll turn out okay. And do understand that a lot of believers have been through a lot already, and that it's kind of like I hate to say rite of passage or whatnot, but it's kind of like a proof. Whenever you are terribly persecuted, we've been taught so much in America that terrible, terrible persecution is proof that you're wrong, proof that you were outside of God's will, and that you did something wrong. But actually, the Bible, I need to do a Bible study on that. It says so many different places about the way the Lord will lead you through hardship will build your faith. And it says it so often as though this is what happens to a Christian is you go through hard things. You go through losses. You go through the physical temporary losses, difficulty, hardship. Expect it. You enter the kingdom of God through much tribulation and difficulties of life. And a lot of people go through difficulty anyway, but for the people of God, there's purposes, there's plans, and things like that. So we were taught opposite, so it feels opposite when it comes. We're confused. Like one time when I was under my attacks, I was being beat all to pieces. And I believe it's a very special thing that happened to me because people are supposed to be warned. And it's judging people to see how they're reacting to what happened to me. But at one point, just the natural part of me was like, where was I taught? Because, guys, I went through years of insanity. But one part of it, I was like, where was I taught this in Sunday school? Because I'm old enough to have gone through some real Sunday school in the real church, you know. And it just came to me pretty quick. I believe the Lord showed me all these little stories you heard of what happened to the Christians. You heard those stories when you was a little kid and you colored the pictures of it and you sang about it, about Paul and Silas being beaten in prison. So yeah, we were taught about it, but we're not coached. We don't understand it until it happens to us, and then it really is like the Holy Spirit showed me so many things. So that's my prayer for everyone is you get your coaching by the Holy Spirit, by the words of God, by his songs that come to you at the right times when you go through the things, but and the words, these deep Bible verses, especially from the New Testament was where I heard a lot of them coming to me about this is what happens to Christians. You get super hated. No one understands you. And but you have this super meat and I'm not there. I'm not there yet. Like completely, but I'm different than when this first started. There's some changes. The Lord was working, but that's persecution and it's just a different conversation. And I believe that a lot of us have been through these things, especially since 2020, and the Lord is preparing people. And he's preparing a lot of people. Difficulty, hardship, leadership, skills, um, forgiveness, or trusting in God, lots of things, lots of things. Next, I'm going to cover recent events in America.